Hey everyone, so this is Marco Polo's Season 2, Episode 3, entitled Measure Against the Linchpin. So I'm just going to get right into this episode, and it starts off with everyone looking at the dead body of the boy emperor. And he's hanging from a noose, even though he's already dead. Though I don't really think they know that. I'm not sure if they know that quite at this point, but and it's not quite clear how long they've been looking at this dead body. So, but one thing is for sure: when when it appears the next morning, a soldier rides out on a horse and cuts down the body. That since several different places, smoke is rising from the buildings and everything, and it's clear that they started to riot and protest and everything. And then it goes into the opening credits, and then once the opening credits finish, Kublai wakes up suddenly from a nightmare, and Chabi says from death, Genghis is going to his dreams, and she points out that night after night, he tosses and turns from these nightmares. Kublai rebusts this idea, and Chabi's like, well, why is he doing it then? To reward his actions or something? Or what? Why is he doing it? And she notes that now, because of what he's done, they riot. And then Kublai says they riot because they lost all hope now that their boy emperor is dead. And Chabi scolds him by asking how many elections will he run off with, and for what? To kill children with impunity? And he asks her when was the last time she had to do anything hard or make any hard decisions. And he basically asks this question in various different ways, but basically is asking the same thing. If she had anything hard to do in her life or make any hard decisions. And Ame comes in and interrupts them, but then kind of immediately leaves, and then Kublai tells Chabi that he's done listening to her and taking her advice. I'm sitting here thinking like, boy, that's a bad idea, because your wife has been spot on with her advice pretty much since the middle of season 1. So I mean, she's been giving good advice at least since then. I mean, if not before then. And so you'd be hard pressed not to listen to her. So I mean, it's better to listen to her than I mean, especially since like not only is your wife telling you not to kill a kid, but your son and Marco are telling you this. If 3 people out of 4 are telling you not to kill this boy just because you can, and just because you want to, or just because you feel like you need to, that should tell you something. That should literally tell you something. If 3 out of 4 people are doing that, that's 75%. That's 75% of everyone that he's getting advice from and trusting and everything. That's 75% of people. 75% of the people. Like, are you kidding me? That's a great-ass number. That's a big-ass number by my standards. I mean, so if 75% of people are telling your ass not to kill him, then don't. Do not do it. But he obviously doesn't fucking listen. And I mean, he's fucking full of shit. I mean, and and it's obvious that Ahmed is pretty much only doing this, or only advising him to do this, so that people will fucking, like, you know, not want to support him or anything anymore. And that pretty much is, that to me, it's pretty much clear that's why Ahmed is doing this. So that's the only, I mean, anyway, so it goes to Jingham and fake Kokachin laying in the bed, like, kind of half naked. I mean, you don't really see her naked, but you kind of see Jingham kind of half naked or something, and then Jingham's like, well, Jingham reveals that the boy had been hanging dead for weeks, until they eventually rioted and burned down their own city. And so apparently this has been going on, and the boy's body's been hanging by a noose for fucking weeks here. And finally people got sick of seeing that shit, which I'm not that mad about, because, I mean, I would get sick of it too. So, there's that. And then Jingham's like, well, Kublai has always heeded Ahmed's advice, which I think is fairly true. I think he seems to regard Ahmed's uh, advice more, like listen to his advice more, and more so leans towards Ahmed's advice. I mean, I personally think it's true. I mean, especially after everything that happened last season and what's happening now, I think it's fucking true. And Jingham, or not Jingham, Kokachin's like, it doesn't matter. Well, it kind of does. It kind of does matter, because if he's gonna so easily take Ahmed's advice without heeding Jingham's and Chavi's and Marco's, then what's the point of asking their advice then? What's the point? I mean, I don't know. That's just me. Marco is fast asleep in Hundred Eyes' temple and is woken up by Hundred Eyes. And apparently, Marco has been drinking heavily since he saw the boy being killed by Kublai. And Hundred Eyes scolds Marco for this. Marco asks what is Hundred Eyes' desire that makes palatable a child's murder, when Kublai walks in and wonders as well. Hundred Eyes says he has no goals but peace, and then Kublai tells Marco, "You come with me. We're leaving. We're going somewhere." And so Marco follows him out, and him and Kublai go into the mountains and walk to the top alone without any guards. And Marco has some reservations about this, because they're kind of, by themselves, and if someone, if a whole army of people come and attack them, then there's really nobody there to help them. And I think that's why he's worried, which to me is a valid concern. So, anyway, so it goes back to Kambalak, and as you see Ahmed sending off a messenger hawk, Jingham comes up to him, and Ahmed says that Jingham's worries about killing the boy were basically right, and Jingham said that he did not know who was right, since he wasn't his advice wasn't followed. But Ahmed's like, well, mine was followed and it wasn't right. And then Jingham and Ahmed go on a diplomacy mission, basically. Maylin is then visited. You see Maylin visited by the woman who was guarding the boy in the middle of the night, and asks who he is, the white devil who she brought with him to get the boy. And Maylin explains that she is a prisoner, but the woman doesn't really believe it, and Maylin's like, well, they both share a common enemy, and says that she can give her the names of her enemies, basically. We don't know what they talked about, because that's where the scene ends. Though I know it's gonna be revisited later, because that's kind of really important. Because I feel like with any series there might be like some tidbits of scenes where it's not really that important, and they just put them in there just for filler. And this isn't one of them. This scene isn't one of them. So I feel like that is definitely going to be revisited later. Though in what capacity, I don't know. So yeah, that's just me. If anybody feels differently, go right ahead and tell me so in the comments. I'd be more than happy to listen. But then Marco and Kublai are seen next, stopping along the way on the mountain to drink water. Before they start walking again, they hear a dog barking, or kind of like a wild animal barking or something. And then Marco asks what the purpose of the climbing is. And he doesn't really get an answer. So there's that. And then it cuts to Kaidu, his mother and his daughter, kind of in this tent, and I don't really want to call it a tent, but it kind of looks like one, so until I know otherwise, I'm going to call it a tent. And they're talking amongst themselves, and Kaidu's mother tells him that Kublai is on the step. And Kudalan and her grandmother argue for a little bit after that, and then Kaidu tells Kudalan that she and her brother will send a message similar to Bayamba did when he brought back the heads of the warriors who went with him. When her father says for her to just go. She asks what she's supposed to tell Bayamba, and he just, again tells her to just go. He then asks his mother if she brought it, and she pulls out this kind of like circular thing with writing on it. I know it has significance, but from what I can tell, it's like, a passing of a ruler to his heir, to mark that the person that the child that they're choosing, well, if they have more than one child, that the child that they're choosing is going to be the rightful heir and will therefore be the ruler once the current ruler dies. That's what I get, especially with a later scene in this episode. Then you see Cuddle meeting up with her brother, who is talking to Bayamba, and says they have to go. And Bayamba's upset because he can't talk about it, and he can't. He's upset that he seems to be increasingly shut out of any sort of important issues that need to be that have to be discussed. But she reassures him that this is probably not going to be forever, and that she cares about him, basically. And then Marco and Kublai are then seen walking up the mountain again, and Kublai is clearly upset with Marco. Marco asks him why Kublai is upset, and or displeased with him, and Kublai says that he's upset or displeased because Marco saw Kublai smiling the boy, and then Kublai tells Marco that he never considered that Kublai had to kill him. But Marco clearly wants to say something, but that doesn't say something at first. Kublai's like, "Well, speak your mind, boy." And Marco says that he never thought Kublai would stoop so low as to kill a child. Kublai angrily says, "Well, he's the boy. The boy was emperor of China." And then before anyone could say anything else, someone or something howls, so they resume walking. Ahmed and Jingo arrive in Karakoram and ask to be able to present his father's case to the people Kaidu has someone to listen to his case. And they tell Jingo that they will listen to him, listen to what he has to say, but first they invite him to a competition, to which Jingo accepts. Then it goes back to Marco and Kublai, and Marco is telling Kublai he's willing to climb a mountain to ask forgiveness for the execution of Kaidu, or something along those lines, but will kill a child against the wishes of everyone he trusts. Kublai is like, "Well, like who?" And Marco first says the Empress. When Kublai tries to say that they see eye to eye on every single issue, Marco's like, "Well, you don't see it. You didn't see eye to eye on this issue." And then Marco says he went against the wishes of his son as well. And they argue more about it before Kublai says he shows himself. And then Marco turns around, sees a wolf standing there, kind of growling and showing its teeth at them. And Kublai says they need to stare down the wolf and to not make a move and to not blink or anything. So that's the end of that particular storyline for the moment. And goes to Fate Kokachin coming back from riding, and before Chabi comes in, she speaks with the stable hand for a few minutes before Chabi comes in and scolds her for riding in her condition. And Fate Kokachin's like, "Well, I am in no condition, so there's really no need to worry." And then Chabi's like, "Well, I'm going to show you something that's going to lift your spirits." And Chabi shows Fate Kokachin 2 baby goats. And she tells Fate Kokachin that it's up to them, or up to us, meaning the plural, we need to make sure she has a baby at all costs. And Kokachin pretty much agrees with that. And then Kaidu is seen going up to Bayamba, and he asks, Bayamba asks Kaidu where he sent Cuddle. Kaidu won't answer, and Bayamba is upset because he's upset. He seems to be always out of the loop. And Kaido confesses to Bayamba that he will name Cuddalon his heir, even though he has a son. And sons are preferred to be, are the preferred, and they're the preferred heirs. And then you see Cuddalon and her brother, kind of at a campfire and, arguing over how to be leader and everything. They kind of take digs at each other, basically, and at different people. And it's like, yeah, I really didn't find it, like, worth saying what they mentioned, or worth mentioning what they said. And then it goes back to Jingham and them back in Karakoram, and Jingham sees the man that he's supposed to wrestle against, and it's this big dude, like this very, very heavily set dude, and he kind of looks a little scared because he's significantly smaller than this guy, and he can't really pick the dude up and sufficiently throw him down on the ground with any palpable force. So he's kind of scared, and so he asks Ahmed if there's any more advice, and he wishes to give him, and Ahmed's like, well, even a draw is as good as a victory. Okay then. And then it kind of goes a little while later to when they're actually currently fighting against each other. And after kind of getting his butt kicked for a while, Jingham wins, but he doesn't really wrestle him. He kind of uses kung fu-ish moves. And then, it kind of, go. You will get back to that storyline in a little bit later. And then it goes to Chabi and Fake Kokachin being delivered food. Chabi lifts the lid off of her food plate to reveal what she's gonna eat, and it looks like scallops or something like that, or not. I don't want to say scallops, but it looks like some seafood, like some. Yeah, basically. And then she prevents Kokachin from opening taking the lid off of her plate before, so that she could say something. And she says that there are certain foods that can aid in pregnancy or getting pregnant. And Chabi says that the challenge between Kaido and Kublai is approaching fast, and that Jingham needs an heir before then. And Kokachin's like, well, I know this, and Chabi's like, okay then. Well, and then Kokachin lifts up the lid off of the plate, and it's revealed that on her plate that it's I think it's a placenta. What type of placenta it is, I don't know. I'm assuming it's the mother goat's placenta, because we saw Kokachin kind of, petting the baby goats before, but their mother goat wasn't anywhere in sight. So I'm assuming that the mother goat had her placenta was the placenta for those baby goats was taken from her and used for dinner for Kokachin. And then Kokachin's like, when she sees it, she's like, she says she will do anything for her Khan, so she starts eating it. Whether that actually works or not, I do not know. I will then ask anybody who watches this, especially James, or ask the NP James Simmons, if you're watching this particular episode of me recapping this episode, I want to ask you if you know if there's any sort of accurate studies that have been shown that eating placentas will help get you pregnant, or if this is just a myth that people have created throughout time. And if as the NP you're watching this, then please, give your 2 cents on this in the comments. But if you're not, then I've asked my other viewers who are watching me recap this episode, if anybody has any sort of medical background and can shed any light on this. But with that said, it goes back to Kublai and Marco, and Kublai tells Marco that there is more to being a Khan than what Kaidu was offering. But then the wolf comes back. The wolf, after they stare down the wolf, the wolf seemingly goes away, but then comes back and attacks Kublai. Marco then shoots the wolf with an arrow and kills it. And then Kublai said that they can go back home, and Marco asks, what about Kaidu and the challenge? And Kublai says it has been spoken about already, so they just leave. And then it goes back to Jingham and Ahmed and Karakoram, and Jingham can't be named the winner because he didn't actually, use approved wrestling moves. So, excuse me. But they will meet with his father since he showed to be honorable, and since he showed honor, he probably isn't the son of a thief. But they say that they won't meet him in a Chinese hall, only in a Mongolian one. I'll accept that for now. Then Kublai and Marco get back to Khumbalak, and as they're walking through the halls, Marco's like, well, can I go back to my chambers, Khan? And Kublai's like, no, they have business to discuss in the royal court. And then Chawi kind of meets him in the hallway before he gets to the royal court, and asks what are the challenge to Kaidu, and he says he won't tell her. And Chawi is really upset about that. She's like, well, you're not gonna tell me, but you're gonna confide in a foreigner. Kublai walks past her. It looks like he's not gonna talk to her. Then turns back around and comes up behind her and says that this foreigner saved his life, even though he didn't want to, and even though Kublai's life meant nothing to him. And he then continues to say, you never had to do anything, never had to make any hard choices. He brings that up again, and then it goes back to then it goes to Marco and Kublai in the royal court, and he makes Marco kneel down, and then Kublai pulls this animal tooth, canine. It looks like a canine tooth out of a little pouch, and he's saying as he does this that because Marco has proven to be of great worth to Kublai now conscripts Marco into the Order of the Mongol Knights and puts the animal tooth necklace around his neck. And as Kublai leaves, Marco asks what he has to do of Kublai, what he is to do with Kublai, and Kublai says that he's just gonna stare him down, and before he leaves. And then Ahmed and Jingham ride back to Khumbalak. The warriors are attacked and killed by Kadalan and her brother's soldiers. And then the pair ride up to Ahmed and Jingham, and her brother says that Jingham's life is in their hands, basically. And her brother insults them both before killing the horses that they're sitting on. And the horse that Jingham sits on, or not Jingham, Ahmed sitting on, falls on top of Ahmed and pins him to the ground. Uh, Jacob, when they leave, Jacob tries to pull the horse, pull Ahmed from under the horse. Uh, and then Kublai is seen going to Maylin's room. Sorry if I sound nasally at the moment. uh, and in Maylin's room, he asks her how it feels to deliver her birth or death, and she's like, uh, she answers, and then he forces her on her knees and to uh, really try to keep this PG here, but I can't really. He tells her to suck his private parts. That's all I'm gonna get into. That's how explicit I'm gonna get. So, and then it goes to Chabi going into Fake Kitchen's room where she's sleeping, and she brings in the stable boy from before, and Chabi brings him in to get her pregnant, so they could pass it off as Jacob's because they really need an heir. And Jacob is obviously not there at the moment. He's currently on the way back from Karakoram, and Kokichin says to Chabi that the baby will only have half royal blood. But to my surprise, Chabi is like, no, my dear, the baby will actually have no royal blood. And that is the end of the episode. And I'm sitting here thinking like, holy fucking shit. I figured that, see, that's actually the prediction that I forgot to talk about at the end of our recap yesterday. And I figured that Fake Kokichin's identity would be kind of revealed. I just didn't know what capacity, and so I'm not sure when Chabi knew Kokichin wasn't really the Kokichin and was an imposter. I'm not sure when that happened. I have a feeling it was when her Chabi and Kokichin were I have a feeling it was when Chabi summoned Kokichin to the garden that they were in, and summoned her by herself without anybody else there, and and then it's that conversation they had about when the fake Kokichin had been captured by Kublai, and Chabi asked her what it was like to during the siege and everything, and Kokichin said that she lost a friend during the siege and that she misses a friend dearly, and when she's really talking about herself. And I think that's when Chabi realized for certain that Kokichin wasn't really Kokichin, wasn't the real Kokichin at all. And that's when I feel like she realized that at that moment. It was at that moment. And and so I think that's when she realized it, for sure. But I think she suspected before that moment. But in my opinion, it seemed like it made the moment that Chabi realized that Kokachin wasn't the real Kokachin was during that conversation, and that's to me what it seemed like. So, yeah, and so yeah, that's what it seemed like to me. So it's good to know that my predictions are basically coming true. What and girl, because I didn't really. I mean, I've been making kind of like general predictions. I haven't making too specific predictions. Like I haven't like said so and so will be found out by such and such date, or such and such episode. I haven't been saying it like specifically stated like that. I just said that eventually they will get found out. I feel like they will get found out and such, and it's going to be revealed that so and so is the one who planned to kill so and so, and so it's to me it's like basic predictions, just kind of like a round prediction and not anything extremely specific that will happen by such and such date. So I'm glad that my predictions are basically coming true so far. I mean, some obviously haven't like come true, like Yusuf. My kind of amended prediction that Yusuf was helping Ahmed kill or Yusuf had helped Ahmed try to kill Kublai. That amended prediction didn't really come true. Well, it could still possibly be true, but I really highly doubt it at this point, since Yusuf has died since that prediction. So yeah, I mean that's just but yeah, so I mean obviously some of my predictions haven't really come true. Like even fake Kokachin getting pregnant by Marco hasn't come true. So obviously some of my predictions haven't really come true, but some of them have, and so far, and still continuing on with my predictions. I still think I still predict some of them. I think Maylin's gonna end up running away with a daughter sometime in the future. I don't know when, because I mean, I don't think it's gonna be anytime soon though. But I do think it's probably going to be I do think that it's going to happen. I think 100 Eyes is helping Ahmed try to kill Kublai along with Maylin. But yeah, those are my predictions basically so far at this point. Those are still my two remaining predictions at this point. Possibly Cuddalin is pregnant with Marco's baby, and she's trying to pass it off as Bayamba's baby. I don't know. Those are my predictions. Until then, like this video if you like this video. Subscribe if you want to see more of my videos whenever I post new ones. And I will see you in the next video tomorrow for Marco Polo. Bye.